Yo, what's up? It's Tony DeBell, and today I'm going to show you the 5 mindsets I like to practice when I want to achieve my goals. And if you can practice these 5 mindsets and actually internalize it, really internalize it, and then you go through the learning process where you reiterate and then you go through the learning, you have the foundation to achieve any goal or dream that you want. All right, let's get started. The first thing I like to practice is that you are all alone at the end of the day. At the very end of the day, you will be by yourself and no one will care for success as much as you do. Now, you may have friends and you may have family who care about you and love you and truly want the best for you. But at the end of the day, they can't do your push ups for you. You're the one that has to do it. You're the one that has to go out and actually make it happen. It's brutal, right? That's reality, guys. Life is unfair. Woo! Anyways, you anyways, you just want to make sure that you prepare yourself that this is going to be a mental battle between you and yourself. Now, you can have your friends and your family, they can help you along the way, maybe through like 90%, 95%. But if they have to carry you all the way from the finish line, all the way from the start line to the finish line, they're not gonna really be that happy. Maybe they'll help you up to like 75%, 80%. For example, you're looking for a connection for a business and you ask your friend, like, hey, do you know like a tax accountant? Be like, yeah, sure, I know a tax accountant. Or something along the way where it's like, hey, I need some emotional support. You call your mom. They'll be okay with that, but they're not gonna wake up, chase your dream, and then actually achieve it for you because one, it doesn't have that fulfillment that you have, and two, they don't care about that. They have their own problems. What you wish for is probably not what they wish for. They wish the best for you, but they're not going to live your life for you. Otherwise, you're not living your life. They're living your life for you. That's why at the very end of the day, when you are working at 5 a.m., at the end of the day, this is an alone battle between you and yourself. The second mindset I like to keep is that your trajectory is different from everybody else's. Now, this really helps put things in perspective because, it's human nature. You want to compare. Like, I used to compare a lot with, like, my friends who were becoming successful really early on. They're starting to make millions. Others are having side hustles that are becoming super successful. Some are having too many clients that they can't even keep up anymore. And here I am just, like, working, regular work, regular job, regular day, and you're like, wow, this. You put yourself into comparisons, and it feels terrible. It's just like, wow, I'm happy for them, but it's like I want to be successful like them too. Now, I wouldn't particularly like doing their job. Like, for example, if they're doing videography and I don't have a passion for videography, I would love the idea of having too many clients, but I may not actually like living their side hustle. You know what I mean? And what I like to truly think about is that everyone has a different trajectory point. So, for example, some people can be at their 20s and they could be like, going up slowly like that. Others can ramp up their 20s and then like plateau or even like decline a little bit or incline slightly. Others could be in their 50s and then all of a sudden just like shoot up through the moon. Others can be like a regular trajectory from their 20s to 50s all the way to a billionaire. You never know when your trajectory is going to happen. That's why every single day you want to be honing your skills for that opportunity that will take you from that plateau to that spark in the fire, and then you go, that exponential growth. And you really don't know how that exponential growth is. That friend who's making millions in their 20s could just continue to make millions in their 30s. And let's say their net income is around, a couple million, which is still really good. But let's say that you're in your 20s and you are dead broke. And then you're in your 40s and you're making 20 million, whereas he's still at a couple million. You both have a greater standard of living, but your net worth is a lot greater. And you may find that you may be even more passionate because you went through that growth, that journey that, everyone says enjoy the journey. You never know when your trajectory is going to happen or what it'll lead up to. And plus, as you go along that trajectory, you'll learn what you want and don't want. Maybe you don't want to live that 20 million life. You just want to live that couple million life and just live a sustainable and happy family life. And that's why I like to try to not compare myself because, maybe I'm like, I may be late to the race and maybe I'm just getting started on the trajectory. Maybe my trajectory happens in my 50s. So it's all about the long-term game and just waiting for the opportunity to happen. That's what I like to think about. Third mindset I like to have is you want to take every single minute and every single hour as practice for when you have your own business or you're doing your own thing. Because what's going to happen is whether you're working your job, you're working your business, everything applies. Like, for example, even something as a small decision as waking up like at 6 a.m. versus snoozing at 7:30 a.m., that affects your discipline. Now, it's not going to be like, your life or death situation, but that little discipline where, you decided to cave in at the very last moment, that could happen to your business life, that could happen to your dating life, that can happen to any possibility where it requires discipline. Now, that's just such a small, minute detail, but it adds up over the day. Let's say you didn't do meditation, you didn't do cold showers, you didn't decide to plan your day, you didn't take care of your time. All these things are applicable when you go from a job to a business or you're doing your own thing, whether it's through like a freelance. And one thing you want to make sure is you want to build good habits. That's basically where it all comes down to. You want to build good habits that translate from wherever you are now to wherever you want to go. Because what's going to happen is if you don't translate it, it's going to be a humongous shock to your body. And it's probably going to take a couple months before that shock of just feeling tired, unmotivated, just dead, and then actually following through. Like, think about it for this way. When you have, new year, new me, it's like, woo, all right. When you have that new year resolution, everybody is like, I'm going to get fit. I'm going to lose 50 pounds this year. I'm going to actually start going to the gym. And this is just one habit or a couple habits. Getting to the gym, actually working out, and eating healthy. Those are 3 habits. And as you can see with every single body, like 90% of the people who actually do that don't actually follow through. And it's really up to the motivation that really sustains them, maybe for like a couple weeks to a couple months, and then it tapers off and they go back to the regular lifestyle. And why does that happen? Is because they decided not to be consistent, even through all the abrupt changes to the lifestyle. And imagine if you go from, just like working a couple hours at your job, just loafing around, to wanting to start your business. And when you start your own business, usually that 4 hour a day doesn't really apply. You have to work extremely hard for you to get systems to make it 4 hours a week. And so you're changing maybe like 20 habits at once. And you're changing, from managing your time to waking up early to dealing with stress to encountering new problems to like becoming a problem solver to then, as well as the other things, managing your employees, and you have all these new skills, all these stuff happening to you, and it's multiple habits at once. And I'm not saying that you won't succeed, but the chances are not in your favor. If most people quit, trying to change their body with just a couple habit changes, and you're trying to change, 20 habits at once, then it's very unlikely unless you have some sort of existential crisis or there's something along the lines where you have to do it no matter what. That's why you want to set good habits so that it's still going to be a shock to your system, but at least that shock won't be as shocking. Fourth mindset I like to have is you want to work extremely hard, but then also have the idea of long-term gratification. So what do I mean by this? So basically, whenever you're starting a new business or you're trying to achieve any goal or your dreams or anything like that, you're going to have to work extremely hard. And when I say extremely hard, I mean you have to put in the hours. You have to put in the reps. And if you truly love that dream, you will actually start to enjoy the process when you start winning. Now, hopefully you enjoy it when along the whole way, but it usually becomes really fun when you become, 1, really good, and 2, you start winning. Once you reach those 2 things, then it becomes like a video game. It becomes addicting to actually chasing that. And so what you want to do is you want to turn this into sort of video game. You want to work extremely hard so that it shortens the amount of time to do it, but you also want to make sure that you can think of it as a long term. You want to think of it in terms of blocks of 5 or 10 years. This is what I'm going to be doing for my 5-year goal, 5 year here, this is 5 year, 5 year. You want to plan your life into like maybe intervals of 5 or 10 years, and you want to have some sort of end goal of what you want to do there. And the reason why you want to do that is because it puts things into perspective. It says, okay, you're going to achieve this goal that you think is impossible within 10 years, and you're going to work extremely hard to reach that. And it's like, okay, you're working extremely hard, but you're also thinking in terms of 10 years. When you think in terms of 10 years, it becomes like, that's a long-term game. You're putting blocks, decades of your life into perspective. And during the day-to-day grind, you're not going to really notice the 10 years. And people actually overestimate what they can do in 1 year, but underestimate what they can do in 5 or 10 years. So when you put yourself into being like, I want to achieve 100 million, in 10 years, for example, then that's like, okay, I have 10 years to do this. What am I going to do for year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5? And what happens is that you start to like, okay, you have an estimate. You're just making like random estimates within your 10 years, unless you had a coach who did something like this. And once you go through these 10 years and you go through the first year and the second year, it's okay, this didn't work, second year this didn't work. And you start to figure out that along the way, it's like, okay, you need to work extremely hard, but you're starting to navigate your course correction along the way, and you're trying to figure out what you actually truly want. Do you really want 100 million, or do you like the idea of it? And when you start to think in terms of longer blocks like this, day-to-day grind doesn't seem as bad, because you have this overreaching goal, this ultimate goal that you truly want to achieve. Final fifth of mindset I like to have is that you want to fail. If you want to try as hard as you can, and if you fail, you want to fail as spectacularly as possible. And if you don't fail, or you don't even try, that's even worse. You want to at least work extremely hard and fail horrible than not even trying at all. And the reason why is because regret is like that deadly poison that you can't get rid of. No, you can't go back in time. You can't do this. You can't fight your what ifs if you didn't actually try. And what's worse than not trying is regret. And what's worse than regret is resentment for yourself for not doing that. So once you put that into perspective, it's okay if you fail. This business didn't turn out, or maybe that huge business crisis where you lost, $50K to, a shady employee. It's at the moment it's gonna suck, and for the first year it's gonna suck, and it only really becomes a problem if you didn't learn something. Now, you could have avoided it if you learned it from someone else, but sometimes you have to experience it yourself to learn how to avoid that problem. And if you don't learn anything, then that's wasted time. But as long as you learn something through these failures that you can apply to your next venture or the next course of your life or anything, it becomes a lot manageable, because then it's like, okay, this wasn't wasted time. This was an extremely important lesson I can use to apply to my next whatever. All right, those are my 5 mindset tips. Now, whatever you do, if you can actually embody these 5 mindsets and actually truly internalize it and be like, get really Jumbi with it, and you're chasing your dream or your goal or whatever you want in life, and you have this foundation of mindset, and you actually go out to do it, you learn from your mistakes, you reiterate through that mistakes that you learn, and you actually try it again with these foundations, you will be exponentially a lot more successful, because you're going to have the solid mindset you're going to need to overcome any problems that you encounter. Because you will 100% encounter problems along the way. And it's through having this mindset, it's like, okay, once you have this foundation, it's like, okay, I got this, no worries, let's keep going, let's see what happens, no worries. I still got a lot of life, I got a lot of time blocks, I got, even if I fail, as long as I learn something. And once you have this foundation, it becomes a lot better. So yeah, that's it. Let me know if you want more of this. All right, peace out.